Every coffee needs a lotus.
Welcome back to the second part of our back to the work or the webinar we're doing right now. This is the second part. And before we call back our dear speakers, Sir Ricky de Vera, we'll first tell you. We are limited right now. Our hands are tied. COVID-19 scared a lot of businesses, organizations. Some are in temporary folding up. But the thing is, we decided to never let this stop us from adding value to our customers, and which is why we're giving away free webinars. And this is from the pro bono speakers, and the company is paying for the technology, and we have a skeletal force to make this happen, and all because we love you. Now, at the same time that you have given us the opportunity to give to you, we're also giving you an opportunity to give back. And what will this be about? This is about the Bayanihan Act 2020. Like what Sir Ricky mentioned, there's free knowledge. And over the past month, more than a month, we've been giving you free knowledge to grow you, because we want you to be ever learners, to be ever learning leaders. Now, we're not asking for anything in return.
We are good.
We are appealing to you and your heart, if you find it in your kind heart, that you might also want to give, not back, but pay forward to people, our brothers and sisters who are the poorest of the poor, who are reliant to support. And sometimes the government support is not enough. This is it. This is an opportunity we're giving you. So we are giving you a chance to donate something that will not hurt you. 100 pesos, 200 pesos, whatever, it will go a long, long way. Why? Because your donation will go to the Bayanihan Act 2020. 100% of your proceeds will go to Bayan ng Mahayhay, Laguna. And when you do that, not only were you blessed by the learnings we had today and for the past 6 weeks, you also become a blessing. And when that happens, God will bless you more. So with that, you can click or you can visit the website, http://www.ariva.com.ph/donation. Any amount, we will appreciate that. So thank you for your generosity in advance. Now, moving forward, we'd like to greet we have already greeted the internationals attendees of our webinar. We also have our local webinar attendees. So I'm going to call your provinces and cities. We call and we thank you for supporting us, for attending this workshop. Albay, Aritao, Nueva Vizcaya, Bacolod City, Baguio City, Cabanatuan City, Cagayan de Oro City, Cebu City, Davao City, General Santos City, General Trias City, Iloilo City, La Union, Laguna, Lapu-Lapu City, Legazpi City, Libon Albay, Liloan Cebu, Malay Aklan, Quezon Province, Tuguegarao, and Valenzuela City. Thank you so much, dear participants, for letting us into your homes and giving us the opportunity to enrich you through this workshop. Now, online workshop and webinar. Sir Ricky, we'll be proceeding to the Q&A. Are you ready, sir? So for the Zoom participants, there are 3 ways, well, not only the Zoom, but Facebook Live participants. So if you're a Zoom participant, please type in your question at the Q&A box. Better yet, click the raise button so we can hear you and we can see you as you ask Sir Ricky virtually face-to-face your question. And for our Facebook Live viewers, we have a team that monitors your queries and questions. Questions and queries will be forwarded to me, and I will be reading them for you. So let's move forward with the first question from the Q&A box. Enrico Rescio. What can you, for business agency, maybe what can you do? For business agency with 13,000 EEs as promodizers, how can the agency, third party, sustain these 13,000 promodizers after the pandemic?
Okay, I'm not sure. Am I supposed to be seen or not anymore? I don't.
We can see you, sir. We can see you.
Oh, okay. Yeah. So this is a business agency, and I feel that's very, yeah. When we take a look at it, my good friends, this is also something that, thank you for that question, because the ones that would really be, if I were to look at it, affected would be the services sector, of which, based on its statistics and analytics, I'm using that 2 words now clearly, we have around 60 to 65% of businesses in the country in the service industry. And this one for me is very important now. Why? Definitely, in the service industry, if you're an agency, and I would not, first and foremost, paradigm shift now. I would not like us to look at our people as resources, or those people that we get. I'd like to look at them in terms of talents. So you've got a lot of talents out there right now, and I'm saying this why? Because at this point in time, I feel and I sense, and I would advise this: now is the time, while we're still in a pandemic, on this ECQ. Now is the time to actually connect to those people, because there's been cases wherein I've heard of some companies, business services saying, "Oh, basta dyan lang muna kayo ha, update na lang namin kayo." So what therefore has happened is that it creates for me, if I was an individual waiting for updates, okay, and I'm promodizer, for example, and I know promodizers, the way they manage their livelihood, that's not easy. That is not easy. Well, what I would have done, and I hope you don't mind me saying this, is one, I'll put in a help group line, meaning to say I'll delegate somebody in my management to be like a hotline, meaning to say if those promodizers have something they'd like to clarify, etc., somebody should be there. Number 2, this is probably the time wherein we need to create what is called emotional comfort. to these people. Kasi dalawa ang issue dyan eh. Their financial income. And of course, if you have less, the way you think is going to be so different already. Okay. And so therefore, this is also where I would like to say that we have to bring in also, if you have somebody there who's a psychologist or somebody who does counseling, that's so important right now. And to all businesses out there, this is my advice. Now is the best time. While people, actually, I've been invited also to a very special webinar called Cabin Fever. Okay. And that one is isolation. People are now isolated in their homes. And now is the best time to get their attention. For me, this is the best time to get their attention. But it means to say we also have to take a look on managing their emotional comfort level. Now, at the same time, my good friends, this is where we have to ask ourselves of the promodizers, for example, that we have, what are there, what else can we ask them to support us in terms of skills, in terms of, if I were to call a specialization, because when you start talking of work, it is a specific job. But if you try to take a look, and if you have, and for me, it is very important, now is the best time to know your people better. So tama-tama itong question na yan eh. Now is the best time, not just to know your customers, but to know your people better. Go in terms of do online, like what we're doing right now. Do online, if I were to call it, do online connecting and asking them, Iha, ikaw, ano ba sa tingin mo? Ano pang maitutulong mo sa kumpanya natin? Ano pa, and for me, the way I see it, we probably will have to take a look at the job descriptions of our people, the job descriptions of those promodizers, okay? Because that's a given. As you move on to the post-pandemic, the new normal, I'm not saying the customers will not be there. They will be there, but their preferences would probably have been reshaped. So if I was the business, isipin ko din, okay, I have these people right now, I'm going to talk to them now. Now is the best time. I have their attention. How else can they support me? What else have I not and this is the sad part, Howell. I just like to share this. I've talked to a number of business owners. I've talked to a number of HR, even HR people. They don't really know very well their people. What they know is job description. But really, in terms of what's the emotional side of your people, what more can they give that you've never asked? So for me, that's what I would suggest. So the conditioning, we need to condition our people. And for me, I did mention that earlier. The way I see it, when we go out of this post-pandemic, we probably will not have the same number of people. And so therefore, now is the time to condition that already. Not in terms of fear, of course, but in terms of, what, you have value. That's already a coaching session. But that's what I would suggest. There's so much that we can do in the next 15 more days.
Thank you so much, Sir Ricky. Anonymous attendee, we do monitoring to our cooperative affiliates physically. How can we be effective mentors using only emails and messengers, as most of our affiliates do not have access to the internet? So naka-mobile data lang sila. Hindi ba prepaid?
Okay, interesting. Actually, I have a clarification for that one, because when I hear the word monitoring and
mentoring, sir, mentoring.
Mentoring. Okay, I'd like to clarify, because for me, mentoring would mean to say this one. I'd like to put this into perspective. When I do mentoring, I always ask the person, the mentee, do you want to be mentored? Okay, and that's what I'd like, and I hope you don't mind, the person who was asking that question. Mentoring is not for everyone. I have been mentored. I've been through 3 mentors already. And I'll tell you, the way the mentoring that was done to me is not something I liked. but it actually made me understand how I could become. So I'm not so sure whether the mentees actually were ready to be mentored.
Okay. So,
Okay.
Sir Ricky, it seems like they have been doing this for a long time physically,
Okay.
and they're transitioning into virtual mentoring given the limitation of internet access.
Okay. Now, if let us assume that we are saying that yes, these people are ready to be mentees already, and we've been doing that, and now that we have a lockdown, what do we do? Okay.
Mhm.
For me, what is important now here is to get to know better these individuals. We're saying that they probably do not have laptop as a convenience. That's fine, but
Mhm.
I would like to latch on mobility because for me, when I guess everybody already has a mobile phone. And for me, that is very interesting. Mobility, therefore, would mean to say, I would like to, therefore, get to connect with them through mobility, through, uh, if I were to call it, for example, their FB, their personal messages. Okay. I probably should also be doing, and this one I'd like to suggest, uh, why not develop, okay, uh, structured questionnaires, okay, or if I were to call it templates that you give to your constituents, okay, but you don't ask them to answer it right away because that needs time for them to think about, and then you ask them to email it back to you, okay, or to to also uh, clarify to you. So in other words, where I'm coming from now is what is important for me now is more than the communication, the connectivity of having meaningful conversations. And therefore, that would mean to say that I would probably like to also suggest not everybody would have the same time clock, if you can follow me. So, what is also interesting here is to understand as well what is the time clock of the people that I'm doing mentoring with. Like, I know for some, their tendency is, oh, we do it in the morning. That's where we communicate. But then I also need to find out how many of you, if there are like 300 of you, how many of you, it's better if we do our mobile communication towards the evening? How many of you, it's better we do it towards the afternoon? So, in other words, for me, this is what I call segregation.
Okay.
Segregation based on commonalities. Okay. I don't need a laptop there, but I could become more mobile, but I will become more flexible and then adaptable on mobility. But definitely, because of the lockdown, we cannot really go out. I mean, that's a given already. So the most that we could do really is to connect.
Thank you, Sir Ricky. Enrico Resho. Yes, you are right that the HR plans and programs may be changed as well as the PMS. What do you suggest for HR practitioners to do or raise with the management? And where do we go from there?
Okay, that's a very, for me, that's a very timely question because this is the point where HR will have to now be more strategically aligned with the rest of the management team. Where am I coming from now? Okay. The question of a business owner would be I'd like to have more revenue. I'd like to keep as much as we can in terms of financial. Okay. Then the answer there of the management team, therefore, is we should therefore become more productive. The issue now goes to HR. And what is that? What is the level? And I remember that, Howell, you did mention this yesterday competency. But what is the level of competency of the people that we have right now in our company to
Mhm.
be able to deliver the kind of productivity that we have right now? And the interesting thing here is there are cases a number of companies were not ready to retool their people. They were not ready for this in the first place. They were not ready for a disruptive environment. Okay? So for me, what is important here now is for HR to really become a critical, a pivot, okay, strategic partner. You're not anymore a department now. You are a partner strategically of not the business, but for me of the organization. And that would mean to say, of course, being able to share to management, okay, that this is the people that we have, this is their level of competency. And what I would like to suggest is how we can work within this competency. There might be some of them who are standing out, okay? And this is the time to give, and for me, this is what I'd like to share. The strategy actually. This could be the time, this pandemic could be the time to actually give an opportunity for the promising employees to now show what they can deliver. And so I do not see this as a problematic situation right now.
Okay.
I'll be coming in and say, you know what, we have these 5 people on the line. We were thinking of whether we should, promote them or not, etc. This would be a very interesting opportunity to get them involved as well. Okay, and like an apprentice. So that's how it is. But for me, you cannot be HR department anymore. You got to be more strategic, and you got to be representing the organization as well.
Thank you, Sir Ricky. Mariel Kernado. What activities we can implement to help bring back employees' motivation to work and to boost their morale amidst the pandemic?
Okay, that's interesting. What activities? There's actually quite a number of activities that you can do. And I like to also say this. Now, this time, actually, the last 45 days were, for me, the most opportune time to have done more engagements with people. Why? Because they're at home.
True.
Okay. Probably in the first few days of the announcement of a lockdown, maybe in the first 5 days or so, okay, there's just so many things in their mind. But after a week, people start saying, okay, so now what do I do? What can I contribute? And that's why I've also been encouraging a number of companies as well and clients and people asking, what do we do right now? I tell them, there's so much you can do right now because now is the time to get your people engaged. Now is the time to get your people connected. Now is the time because they will have focus.
Yes.
Of course, you have to also give them engagement activities. Okay. And there's a lot of ideas. There's a lot of engagement activities there. Like, for example, this is the time you can do a survey for them. This is a time you can do inciting with your people, like a survey in terms of, okay, guys, right now we have a online session. I'll talk about this, and then I have this questionnaire that I'd like you to think about, or I have a situation I'd like you guys to think about. So tomorrow, when we get to be online again, I want to hear what you have to say. I mean, for me, that does not stop. Okay. And actually, for me, that's good because you're keeping people's mind occupied. You're making them feel they are not useless. If I were to be so blunt about it, you're making it clear to them, we appreciate that you can have contributions, so we'll give you engagement activities. That's what I would like to suggest.
Thank you, Sir Ricky. Now, speaking of activities, Jess Marie David, given the current situation that every team member is in, how can we show empathy while driving productivity?
Can you just repeat again that question?
Sorry, sir. Yes. Given the current situation that every team is in, team member, how can we still show empathy while driving productivity?
Okay, that's very interesting. I call it an oxymoron, no? Productivity and
empathy.
Empathy, right? Okay. my take on that is this. For me, productivity is a formula. There is a formula for productivity. I'd like to just answer it from that perspective. If this formula is supported, then you're going to have performance. Okay. And I like it actually because the person is using productivity. As a professor, I always tell this to my classes. If I give an exam and my passing was 85 and one of you got 75, you're not a performer, but you are productive, 75%. And I realized when I used that, even those who got 80, they did not perform, but because they got 80 and I acknowledge it, it motivates them that, Prof, unlike other professors when they say we failed, in your case, no, you almost made it. You know where I'm coming from? My passing is 85. You got 80. I mean, if I say bluntly, you failed, patapos na ang usapan. And the people who get 60 will say, nag-study ka pa, bumagsak ka rin naman. Pre-preho na tayo, manood na lang tayo ng YouTube. Okay. So, for me, this is where I bring in the word sensitivity. We have to be sensitive, for me, as a leader of a team in sales. We got to be sensitive with the people who we work with.
I agree.
Not everybody will have the same comprehension level. I would say not everybody will be mature enough to actually understand what is happening right now. So I asked this question. It is so hard also to show empathy if we do not really know the people who we relate with. Don't get me wrong here.
That's
because if what we only know is their productivity, that's called measures. Measure mo lang ako eh. Okay, that's where it comes from. But if we take time and we say, okay, for me, can I just share this, Howell?
Sure.
In the FB live that I did yesterday during my birthday, I did share that my personality is I'm an introvert. My personality is I'm an introvert.
Interesting.
Right, which means to say an introvert is a person who avoids people, avoids crowd, does not really like to talk to people. That is my personality. But why is it that people say, but Ricky, Prof, you can talk to audiences, you can relate to senior officers, you can talk to international audiences. And I answer, because my personality is different from my attitude. I am an introvert, but my attitude tells me something different. Okay. And I'd like to answer therefore that question as well, that as a leader, you want productivity in your people, and I appreciate that. Because if you focus on productivity, it will lead to performance. But to be able to show empathy, and empathy has to be genuine, right? We cannot fake empathy. But if we are genuine in empathy, it also now challenges leaders to ask a question. How much do you know of the people that you work with? Are you only looking at metrics and measures? Productivity, or have you taken time to really know who they are as an individual? Okay, so that's where I'm coming from right now. And that is the reason why it's not easy to show empathy and still not get productivity. Okay, because for me, empathy is about really being able to connect to a person in terms of the uniqueness of an individual. But again, as I mentioned, personality is not attitude. And that's a very interesting discussion moving forward.
Thank you so much, Sir Ricky. Florence Joy will be our Zoom live participant. Ayan, Florence Joy. Hello? Hello, Florence Joy.
Yeah, Florence Joy. Yeah, I appreciate this because there's Joy and then there's Florence, Italy.
Yes, oh.
Right.
Zoom live question. Sir Jeff, kumusta? Andyan ba? Madam President, nandiyan ba si Florence Joy for the Zoom Live? Move on na tayo. Okay, anonymous attendee, how do we manage the KRAs with a new normal post-COVID? Do we reset?
Okay, this is my advice. By the way, I'm very careful also on the terminologies I use. If I use suggest, it means to say I have not experienced it. I have read it. If I use advice, it means to say I am using it. Okay, so for our audiences out there as well, please be careful when you use the word suggest or advise. So my advice to the individual who was asking is this one. Okay. Key result areas. Okay. The way I sense it is that key result areas will not be the same. They will be modified. Okay. Question is, what is the basis of the modification of a key result area? Okay. For me, the basis of a modification of a key result area, being a business consultant, is the business process. The process of how the company would now like to move on in becoming the company of the future. Process it. Remember? If the process now, and that's why you cannot immediately touch and modify or change key result areas. Because the key result areas is what is needed in a position to be measured. Now, the question is, however, before I am able to identify the key result areas, I need to know now whether that position will still be doing the same thing.
I agree.
So for that to happen, I have to go now into the Kamuna. What is now the process that we would like, let's say, what is the process we would now like to do in terms of customer servicing? What is the process that we would now like to do in terms of the selling of our people? Okay. If we are not clear on those processes, there is no KRA modification to talk about. Okay, and that's why it is critical. If and I hope most of our listeners right now were with us earlier when I showed that my 6-step template in the roadmap. It is critical for us to be systematic in the roadmap. But definitely, if the processes will be transformed, then I'll have to go into each position and ask myself, what therefore will be the key result areas of those positions moving forward.
Wow. Thank you, Sir Ricky. You know what? Time flies so fast. 2 hours flew so fast. And we're down to our last question, Sir Ricky. Nakadalang oras na tayo, no? Okay,
I'm sorry, I never realized that. I mean, I guess it's so, time flies so fast when there's so much to share. And you know that there's so many people out there who are very interested. I've been reading also the chat statements there. There's a well worth it now. Yung sharing, and I love it, my good friends. This is what I call my psychic income. Kasi as mentioned by
financial income.
This is not being paid, but this makes me feel good. I guess when Howell also shares, we consultants, we coaches, psychic is so important for us. So time flies so fast.
Definitely.
Do we still have a few more questions?
Last question, sir. So from Ryan Alit, what advice or tips, strategies can you recommend to our outsourcing company, BPO, for client retention, given that our clients are offshore companies and from greatly affected areas like US and Australia? Ayan. Anong advice natin?
Okay. Thank you. That's very interesting. And this is where I'd like to come in from. You have to put yourself, particularly your outsourcing, you have to put yourself or your people into the mindset of understanding the environment of the customer. And since you mentioned that most of your clientele are in Australia, New Zealand, for example, or let's say if it was in Sweden or in the
United States.
Even in the US, right? This is something that is very important. Before, what happens is in the outsourcing, we get to be tuned into what is their concerns and complaints, okay? And then we address it. Now, I'd like to share that it's going to be not just simply concerns or complaints. It's going to be now what I would call the consciousness of how their environment out there is affecting already the way they look at things, the way the conditioning of the mind. And that is the reason why, and it's good, because there's also been two outsourcing customer clients that we've had, wherein what we did there is we did a guiding session in terms of giving them an appreciation. Their clients were in the United States, in particular states. So I had to access information about how that state is now managing the pandemic, the inputs, and then we brought it into an online with their people down here, and we told them, look, guys, this is the ideology now of the people out there when they call you. And I tell you that those BPOs were saying thank you. We never thought that we should be even going to that kind of a. For me, it's called transcending there, because those people now are already complaining. Plus, they can't leave their homes. Plus, there is the pandemic. Plus, the mortality rate. So we go those things. If we do not understand that, then we're just looking at a job. I feel we should not be looking at the job at this moment. We should look at a word I call a partnership.
I agree.
A partnership with the elements that surrounds us, and that is very important as well. And that's why when people would like to move on, I'd always say, at the end of the day, there will always be that button that you can click and you can ask for guidance from people. Ariva's there to assist you. Me, our Facebooks were there to support you. But never lose, and for me, never lose the belief. I say may hope, and I've heard so many people also talk about hope. But for me, I'd like to put it in the belief that you are here and you're still alive for a purpose.
Wow. Thank you, Sir Ricky. Big hand, everyone, for Sir Ricky De Vera, the birthday boy. Wow. Sir Ricky, do you have, last words you'd like to leave our participants before we turn this over to Miss Irish, our dear president?
Okay, right. As I mentioned, my good friends, those who are viewing and listening, what we have shared is knowledge. The roadmap that we have shared is knowledge. Okay, the insights, these are knowledge. The challenge there is some people will say, everybody else has heard it, so what makes me different from them? And I'd like to put it this way. Yes, everybody got the knowledge, but not everybody will get the learning. And for me, what is the learning? When you bring the knowledge to actual application. And that's the reason why, don't get me wrong here, I love all the webinars that we're seeing right now. I really appreciate it all, but I have to be selective.
True.
Because otherwise, at the end of the day, with so much that is around, I might not be able to move on anymore. You're flooded already with so much information. And for me, we got to understand this, my good friends. We do not have enough time to gather all the information. And moving forward, and this one, I'd like to share this because people appreciated it also when I said this. We do not live in a perfect world. If we lived in a perfect world, decisions should all be perfect. We do not. We live in a world that is constantly changing. And because it's constantly changing, there is nothing wrong if you make a decision and it did not turn out correctly for me, because we live in an imperfect world. But what is important is you make a decision. If it is right, wonderful, you're successful. If it did not turn out right, you now have wisdom.
Wow.
And what is that? Wisdom is, now I know what not to do because that was my decision. And I guess that's for me very important. Otherwise, we will stop making those decisions. We will stop making the next steps. We got to move on, my good friends. And that's why I tell people, I'd rather talk about inciting. I'd rather talk about internalization and not waste time, because time is also of the essence.
Thank you so much, Sir Ricky. Again, big hand for our resource speaker, internationally renowned, highly sought after in Asia and the Philippines and the world.
Just one thing else I'd like to mention. I also have some motivational posters that I post in my FB. So if some people would like, they can do that.
Okay.
Okay.
Good. Thank you, Sir Ricky. Enjoy the rest of your birth month.
I will. Thank you very much.
More years to come, sir.
Yeah, thank you very much. Thank you very much for hosting this.
Again, everyone, that was our speaker for the day, the birthday boy, internationally renowned, well-decorated, still humble Filipino speaker, Sir Ricky. Maraming salamat po. Now, I would like to call on our president, Miss Iris.
Hello, Sir Howell.
Beautiful in blue. Ayan.
Thank you again. So, on behalf of Ariva Academy, thank you, Sir Ricky, for a wonderful session. So much of realizations and informative and very insightful. It was like a business economic review.
Totoo, no?
Yes, Sir Ricky gave us a roadmap of planning and facing a VUCA environment. So with that, Sir Ricky, thank you so much.
Thank you, Sir Ricky. And in my, from my end naman, and in my case, what I really loved, yung sinabi niyang ang daming free knowledge. Totoo naman, ano? Parang everyday, kung makikita ko sa newsfeed, for 20 free webinars. Pero yung magandang sinabi niya, from free knowledge, higher than that is consultant, and then advisor, and then mentor. And that's how we make good use of what's available out there to learn how to not only filter, but make use of all those learnings, not knowledge, but learnings, which we can apply to improve the world. So maraming salamat.
I agree.
Miss Irish.
Thank you so much also, Sir Howell. I'll be seeing you tomorrow morning.
We have 2 sessions?
Yes, for our HR Virtual Summit, PH.
Ayan.
Okay? Thank you so much for moderating
Thank you so much.
session. Okay, and for you guys, this is not yet the end of our e-learning session. We would like to thank our following win-win sponsors. Our official media partners, thank you, Art Plus Magazine, Digital Media Partners, Focus Media, Globaltronics, City Advertising Ventures, Outcome. Thank you to Elevate Media. For win-win partners, thank you to Brother, Faber-Castell, Glutacy, Moringa O2, KFC, Mr. Donut, Tokyo, Lotus Biscuit, Boss Job, Sir Technology Inc., Finma Properties. Thank you to Salary Jet, Ilawi Korea, Kitosun and Carpo Consulting, Enchanted Kingdom, Disperse, Cosmotech Philippines Inc. And if you want to place your ads here, advertise your company, your logo, your services, please do email us at marketing@ariva.com.ph. Don't forget to like us on Facebook. It's Ariva Academy Philippines Inc. Please scan this QR code and this will be directed to our Facebook page. So don't forget to like us. And of course, for those of you who want to watch the replay of our session today and our previous e-learning sessions, please do subscribe to our YouTube channel. It's Ariva Academy and Ariva Talks. Again, it's Ariva Academy and Ariva Talks. It's a library of e-learning sessions that we had before. So please do subscribe. And for our upcoming online learning sessions, we would like to invite you on our next series for the HR Virtual Summit PH 2020. We have upcoming sessions, back-to-back sessions with international and local subject matter experts. Join us. This will be tomorrow, Thursday, April 30, for the morning session. Leverage HR technology to power up innovation. And we have invited an international speaker from Australia, Ms. Philippa Pip Penfold. And in the afternoon, yes, we have invited Dr. Indigo Triplet from Malaysia. She will be discussing from surviving to thriving in the new normal. And of course, another session from Professor Ricky De Vera, the VUCA Leadership Transforming a COVID-19 Situation. This will be on May 4, 3 to 4:30 p.m. Don't forget to register again. And on May 6, Wednesday, we have invited Miss Sally Foley Lewis. She is from Australia, and she will be discussing leading productively in turbulent times. And we would like to invite you on e-learning forum. This is Be More with Less, of course, with none other than Coach Randy Esguerra, Mr. Howell Mabalot, and Ms. Suzette Shapno. This will be on May 6, 3 to 4:30 p.m. And another e-learning session on May 7, we have invited Mr. Ronnie Turla. He will be discussing best practices on human resource planning during uncertain times, May 7. Don't forget to register. We would like to invite you on e-learning masterclass, online selling from home, how to use FB, IG, and LinkedIn for your business. This will be conducted by none other than the Asia's millennial guru, Jonathan Yabut. This is only on May 7, 499 pesos. We would like to invite you on May 8th. We have Mr. Roger Colliantes. He will be discussing Don't Waste a Good Crisis, how to thrive, not just survive during a global pandemic. Don't forget, May 8th. Another e-learning masterclass from Mr. Jonathan Yabut, leading a work-from-home workforce, how to manage and develop remote teams, May 14, Thursday. And if you want to customize an e-learning session for your team, for your company during this quarantine session, uncertain times, please do email me at irish.arivaacademy@gmail.com, or you can call me at 0916-695-4418. You got to invite our Ariva Partner Speakers Bureau and guest speakers also. Okay, and that's it. Thank you so much for joining us this afternoon. We will see you on our next e-learning session. This is Irish Malanda Samson again. In Ariva, it's all about being better. Be safe and stay home. Thank you, guys.